Today we're making a balabonnet together, and this project is perfect even for crochet beginners. So let's jump right in. For this project you will need yarn, a crochet hook, scissors, something to mark your stitches, a measuring tape, and a darning needle to finish things up later. Since this project is measurement based, you don't need specific yarn thickness or hook size. Just use whatever you're comfortable with. Before we actually start crocheting, we need to take two measurements. For measurement A, measure from the center of the head to the jaw. Make sure the measuring tape is placed in front of your ear. For me, it's 24 centimeters. For measurement B, measure from the hairline down to where the back of the head starts to curve. For me, that's 15 centimeters. Alrighty, let's get started crocheting. I have already finished the first head panel, so you can see what it's supposed to look like. So first, we start with the slip knot. Take the yarn between two fingers, hold it in place with your thumb, and wrap the yarn around your fingers to create an X. Use the hook to pull the back strand of yarn through the front. Then pull tight. Now we will create a foundation chain. Chain as many chains as you need to reach the length of measurement A. I've noticed the fabric tends to tighten up slightly starting from the second row, so I recommend adding about 10% to your measurement to compensate. For example, since my measurement A is 24 centimeters, I add 10%, which makes it 26 centimeters. For me, that's 45 chains, but this number will obviously depend on your own measurements and also the yarn and hook size you are using. Once your chain is the right length, chain one as a turning chain, and then we will start single crocheting across. Insert your hook into the second loop from the hook. Yarn over, pull up a loop, yarn over again, and pull through both loops on your hook. Let's do it together again. Insert your hook into the back loop, yarn over, pull up a loop, yarn over again, and pull through both loops. And one more time, insert your hook into the back loop, yarn over, pull up a loop, yarn over again, and pull through both loops on your hook. Keep going like this into each back loop across the foundation chain. If you're new to crochet, I recommend counting your stitches as you go. It's easy to miss the last stitches until you're more familiar with the process. For me, since I chained 45, I should end up with 45 single crochets at the end of this row. When you reach the last chain, chain one again as a turning chain and turn your work. Now, as I mentioned earlier, the fabric tends to tighten up a bit in the second row. Here you can see after finishing my second row, my panel tightened from 26 centimeters back to my original measurement A of 24 centimeters, and that's exactly what I wanted. If your measurements aren't 100% perfect, don't worry, small differences are totally fine. Since you have already chained one as a turning chain, we will continue with single crochets in the third row. Unlike the second row, we will single crochet into the V of the first stitch, as you can see here. So, insert your hook into the V shape of the first stitch. Yarn over, pull up the loop, yarn over again, and pull through both loops on the hook. For the following stitches, we will single crochet into the back loop of each stitch, just like in the second row. insert the hook into the back loop, yarn over, pull up the loop, yarn over again, and pull through both loops on the hook. Repeat this for all stitches. Once you reach the last stitch, single crochet into the V of this last stitch, just as I showed you at the beginning. Insert the hook into the V of the last stitch, yarn over, pull up the loop, yarn over, and pull through both loops. Chain 1 and turn your work. Repeat row 3, row by row, until your panel is as tall as measurement B. For me, that's 15 centimeters. Once your panel is as tall as measurement B, it's time to start shaping it with decreases. There are 3 decreasing parts we were working through, and for the first part we will alternate between rows with decreases and rows without decreases. Note that my starting point is at the bottom left corner and I begin the decrease section at the top right corner. If your measurement B requires you to start decreasing at the bottom right corner, you can check out my pattern in the description. This guide also explains in detail how to make the decrease if you need to start at the bottom right corner. Okay, chain 1 and turn your work. For the first decrease part, we were going to decrease in row 1. So, insert your hook into the V of the first stitch, yarn over, pull up the loop, and now with 2 loops on your hook, insert the hook into the back loop of the next stitch. Yarn over and pull up the loop, and pull through all 3 loops on the hook. That's your decrease. Now single crochet across the rest of the row as usual and end the row with a single crochet into the V of the last stitch. Don't forget to mark this row with the stitch marker so you know it's the start of your first decrease part. Since I don't have stitch markers, I'm using a safety pin. Now chain 1 and turn your work. In the next row there's no decrease. we will just single crochet across like normal. Don't forget to single crochet in the V of the first and the last stitch. Repeat row 1 and row 2 of decrease part 1 for 6 rows in total. And by the end of this section, you will notice the fabric starting to curve slightly. We have just finished this first decrease part, and now we are going on with the second decrease part. For the second part of the decreases, we will alternate between rows with 2 decreases and rows with 1 decrease. To start, chain 1, turn your work and make 2 decreases in the first row. So, insert your hook into the V of the first stitch, yarn over, pull up the loop, insert the hook into the back loop of the next stitch, yarn over, pull up the loop, and pull through all 3 loops. Then again, insert your hook into the back loop of the next stitch, yarn over, pull up the loop, insert the hook into the back loop of the next stitch, yarn over again and pull through all 3 loops on your hook. That's 2 decreases in a row. After that, single crochet across the rest of the row like normal, and don't forget to mark this row with a stitch marker. In the next row, we will work 1 decrease at the very end of the row. Single crochet as usual until you have 2 stitches left. For the decrease, insert your hook into the back loop of the next stitch, yarn over, pull up the loop, insert the hook into the V of the last stitch, yarn over and pull up the loop, and pull through all 3 loops on your hook. This was a decrease of 1, as we already know, and then chain 1 and turn your work. Repeat row 1 and row 2 of decrease part 2 for 6 rows in total again. And this is how your head panel should look like after. Alrighty, for the final decrease part 3, we will alternate between rows with 3 decreases and rows with 2 decreases. Start by chaining 1 and turn your work. To make 3 decreases, insert your hook into the V of the first stitch, yarn over, pull up the loop, then insert your hook into the back loop of the next stitch, yarn over again and pull through all 3 loops on your hook. Repeat this process 2 more times, so you have made 3 decreases in total. Then single crochet across the rest of the row as usual and mark this row with a stitch marker. In the next row, we will do 2 decreases toward the end of the row. So, single crochet across the row as usual and stop at the last 4 stitches. When you have 4 stitches left, make a decrease over the next 2 stitches and then make another decrease over the last 2 stitches. Make one more row like in row 1 with 3 decreases. Note that your starting point is at the bottom left corner, which means that the 3rd decrease part needs to end at the bottom right corner. If you started the decrease section at the bottom right corner, you will need to finish the 3rd decrease part in the 4th row so that the ending point is also at the bottom right corner. Anyways, to finish the first head panel, chain 1, cut the yarn here and pull it tight to secure. Of course, you will need to make a second panel exactly like the first one. However, when you finish the second panel, don't cut the yarn. We will use it to join the 2 panels together. So, to join the both panels together, place the first panel on the top of the second panel. To attach both panels, insert your hook into the V of the first stitch on the first panel, then insert it into the yarn loop where you stopped on the second panel. Pull the loop through the V of the first panel. Yarn over and pull through the loop. and now single crochet across. To do that, insert your hook into the V of the next stitch on both panels. Yarn over, pull up a loop and pull through both loops on your hook. Repeat this all the way along until you reach the next edge. Don't worry if the stitches don't match perfectly, just try to align them as best as you can. When you reach the end, chain 1, cut the yarn and pull it tight. Now you have finished the head part of the balabonnet. Let's try it on! Later the seams will be hidden because we will flip it inside out once it's done. As you can see, the rounded part fits snugly to the shape of your head. Even though the head part might look a bit short now, it will fit perfectly once we attach the scarf part. Now for the scarf part, start with a slip knot and then chain as many chains as you need to reach the desired width of the scarf. I did 30 chains for the scarf part. As usual, chain 1 as a turning chain. Now we will work half double crochets into all back loops of the foundation chain. Start by working into the second loop from the hook. Yarn over. Insert your hook into the loop. Yarn over again. Pull up the loop. And then pull through all 3 loops on your hook. Let's do it together again. Yarn over. Insert your hook into the next loop. Yarn over, pull up the loop, and pull through all 3 loops on your hook. And one more time. Yarn over. Insert your hook into the next loop. Yarn over again, pull up the loop and pull through all 3 loops. Just repeat the half double crochet all the way across the foundation chain. Like with the head panel, I would recommend counting your stitches to make sure you will have the right number. Since I made 30 chains, I should have 30 stitches in the second row and so on. After you've done the last half double crochet into the foundation chain, chain 1 and turn your work. Just like for the head panel, you will work into the second stitch from the hook, since the first chain you see here is the turning chain. Also, we will half double crochet into the V of the first stitch. So yarn over, insert your hook into the V of the first stitch, yarn over again, pull up the loop and pull through all 3 loops on your hook. Then continue half double crocheting into the back loops, just like in the second row. At the end, half double crochet into the V of the last stitch and chain 1 and turn your work. Repeat this process until you reach the desired length for your scarf part. At the end, chain 1 and cut your yarn. Before attaching the scarf part to the head part, we need to center both pieces and pin them together with a stitch marker. Mark the middle of the scarf part. If you have trouble finding the middle, just count the rows to get it right. Make sure the seam of the head part is facing outward. Fold the scarf part in half at the center and place the center point against the inside of the head part, aligning it with the seam. Secure both points with a stitch marker. To keep everything in place while joining the 2 parts, also use stitch markers to pin the ends of the head part that overlap with the scarf part. Make a slip knot on your hook as I showed you before, and we will start at one edge. Insert your hook into the same spot on both the head and scarf part. Yarn over and pull through both pieces and the loop on your hook. Yarn over and pull through the loop. Then continue joining both the the head and scarf parts with single crochets, just like we did it for the head panels. It might be a little tricky to see the stitches, but just try to work into roughly the same spots on both the head and scarf parts, and it will work out fine. Keep joining until you reach the other edge. Once you're done, chain 1, pull the yarn through, cut it off and tighten the end. After joining the head and scarf part, your project should look something like this. Now simply turn everything inside out to hide the seams. Next, we will clean up the edge. You should still have your stitch marker in the middle of the scarf part, so we will start crocheting along the edge from this point. To ensure a neat finish with nothing sticking out, don't start with a slip knot on the hook. Instead, join the yarn freely. Hold the yarn in place with your thumb and middle finger at the edge, insert your hook into the middle stitch of the scarf part, yarn over and pull through, yarn over again and pull through the loop on your hook. To wave in the loose yarn, crochet around it as shown here. Continue single crocheting all the way around. When you reach a corner, do 2 single crochets into the same corner stitch. This will give you a nice rounded edge. Along the way, you will come across some loose yarn, and you can work it in the same way I showed you earlier. Once you reach the beginning again, we will finish up with the slip stitch. To do that, insert your hook into the V of the first stitch you made. Yarn over and pull the loop through both loops on your hook. Chain 1, pull the yarn through and cut it off. Then tighten the loose end. After that, wave in the end with the darning needle. Now everything should look neat and clean and you're done with your balabonnet. This project is super quick to make and makes a great gift too. Thanks for joining me and I hope you enjoyed this tutorial. Also, I can't wait to see your creations. Just make sure to share it with me or tag me on Instagram. Have a great day. Bye bye.